I actually took a salary cut from where I was previously. And that was really smart for me. I think we become fixated with titles, with money, and all of those elements where actually culture is a massive player. Living in the moment and not having a plan is also a really powerful thing.
Today's guest has been coined the Queen of UK retail media. Alice Anson rose through an industry where senior women are rare. At Nectar 360, she transformed how brands connect with consumers, building a digital retail division from the ground up. But her journey wasn't straightforward. Once a failed lawyer, Alice pivoted into roles at Amazon, The Body Shop, and lastminute.com. Known for her commercial results and authentic leadership, Alice shares her ADHD journey and advocates for women through programs like Women in Retail Media and Bloom. Alice, thank you so much for joining me. I have been looking forward to our chat all weekend.
So have I. It's amazing to see, and I love that the cards are matched to the jumper as well for anyone that's watching us.
So let's jump straight into it. Not many people will know that you were a lawyer, and the industry coined you the Queen of UK retail media. Now, please walk us through your journey. How did you start as a lawyer and now you're working in retail media? It's a very unique career jump.
Yeah, so I actually started studying law at university. I was really lucky that my dad was actually a builder and he had an amazing client base, one of which was a judge at Manchester Crown Court. And I was convinced I was going to change the world. I was going to marry George Clooney. I was going to be a human rights lawyer, all of that kind of piece. And actually, throughout my journey of my law degree, I realized that it's a really tough career. And actually, the two things that I really enjoy, A, shopping. Who doesn't? And B, getting to know people and really kind of forming those human connections. So really my career kind of coming out of law school was really surrounded about that. So I actually started working at Amazon as a buyer. It was very small back then, only around kind of 10 to 12 years ago. I'm not that old, despite the filter that we haven't got on the camera today. And really my career was quite squiggly. So I took lots of journeys and lots of steps across travel and retail, really trying to understand what were those holes in the knowledge that I had. So when I was a buyer, I was like, this is great. I'm buying lots of stuff. But how do people find it? And that kind of wormed me into marketing. I then was like, great, how a website's built, how does this stuff go on it? And I kind of went through that journey. I was made redundant by a company called Eurostar, which was a little bit of a blessing in disguise because it was just before COVID and all of the furlough years that we've had. And I was applying for lots of different jobs, and Sainsbury's came along. It's a company that I've always had kind of a special place in my heart for, kind of being pushed around in a trolley by my grandparents during school holidays. And I thought, this is the one for me. And I was really lucky that I joined the industry at a time where shopper marketing was migrating into retail media, and actually that fusion of the digital and the physical was coming together. And since then, kind of been really lucky that I have stepped on throughout my career with that business, been really supported with them, and been able to launch loads of amazing products. Off the back of that, it was really important to me that I really cemented who I was and what I stood for within the industry. So I spent a lot of time kind of working through what is my personal brand, how do I talk out there in the external market. And yes, been granted that title by some peers in the industry. I think there's a lot of amazing women that are coming up through the ranks in retail media. So there'll be a complete kind of crowd of queens, shall we say, over the coming years.
Where did the name Queen of UK retail media come from? Was it one person that coined that phrase and then it stuck? It's a fantastic name, by the way, icon.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's I think I've been really lucky in that I've been asked to speak at a lot of different events. And off the back of that, you start to build a bit of a reputation around the industry for what you talk about and how you kind of come across. Yes, this was coined by a particular person across the industry on LinkedIn. And it's something that really kind of has stuck with a lot of people saying that, you know, I am one of the great female faces within the industry, within the UK. And yeah, it's nothing that's coined yet, shall we say, on a card, but maybe I will get some badges made, that kind of thing. We'll go from there.
I'm going to get you one of these printed.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe a mug. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. So what I would like to know is there one thing you can tell us that we can't get from your LinkedIn profile or that we can't get from your CV? One defining thing that we just can't tell?
I think the thing that you can't tell, you might get it if you go through my LinkedIn profile, but it is I have ADHD. So I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was 4 years old. And I was very lucky. And I count myself lucky because I did materialize in traditionally male kind of characteristics within that. So that allowed me to get that early diagnosis. And yeah, it's something that I've only really become comfortable talking about over the last kind of 12 to 18 months, trying to remove the stigma of neurodiversity, because actually it adds to a lot of what the amazing superpowers that I have, but it does kind of hold me back in a few ways as well. So yeah, it's definitely not written on my CV. Maybe it will be one day when I become more comfortable with it. But yeah, that's definitely something that you wouldn't get from reading my CV.
Thank you for sharing that with us. What was the defining moment that said, okay, I'm ready to share this with the world. I'm ready to speak about it because I would say it's a topic that is more openly discussed of late, and everyone's journey is very unique. So I'm really interested to know what inside you said, I'm ready to reveal this side of me.
Think it was twofold. So I think firstly, as you start to become a leader of teams, you realize that actually you do need to employ a level of vulnerability to kind of connect with teams and make sure that you're creating the change of the industry that you want to see. So something that I'm extremely passionate about is obviously supporting women in the workplace and also supporting inclusive workplaces. So that for me was that moment where I said, if I'm not willing to take this leap, how can I expect others around me to also take the leap? The second was I became a member of Bloom, so marketing and communications kind of mentoring program for women in the industry who are up and coming. And I joined the neurodiversity group there, and it was amazing the amount of women that were around me that were scared to kind of speak up in a workplace because they felt that there was this fear of judgment. People would think that they, weren't as capable about their jobs as others in it. So I was at that point where I was doing really well in my career. Kind of everyone knew me for my knowledge and what I stood for. And I thought, what have I got to lose by talking to this? And upon reflection, I didn't have anything to lose. I just had a lot to gain. And both personally being able to gain a greater understanding of how I think and how my brain works, but also being able to open up those doors for other people to be brave and kind of come out with the things that traditionally have held them back. And the reception's been amazing to it. The amount of people that, talk to me about different issues that they've got. I've been lucky enough that I've been able to have lots of coffee chats with people who have got children that are going through diagnosis, SEND, etc., and kind of open up that world that this is not the end. This is actually the start of a really beautiful journey. And actually, by being more open, we create an environment where people understand more about neurodiversity and therefore can kind of create the different environments that each person needs in order to flourish, whether that be, ADHD, autism, dyslexia, whatever that kind of special recipe is that makes up each person. We can really kind of lean into that and make sure that everyone can kind of flourish according to their own individual needs.
Thank you for sharing. And that is very brave. I love the way you articulate your personal circumstances. You used words like superpowers. You also highlighted that it's not easy, that there are challenges. And I just think it's the level of transparency and advocacy that shines through when you speak about it is admirable. So thank you for sharing with us.
Thanks for listening.
You've discussed your career. So you started off as a lawyer and then you went to roles with Amazon, Last Minute, Nectar 360. Have there been any moments in your career where you've taken a risk and it didn't quite go to plan, or may not have gone to plan, but it might not have landed the way you expected it to land?
Yeah, so I think when I left Amazon, everyone thought I was crazy. Why would you leave an organization that is rocketing at the level that it was at that time? And I went to a company called lastminute.com, who was, big kind of dot-com boomer in the early 2000s. When I joined kind of 2014 time, actually they weren't as big as they used to be. And everyone's like, what is this? Why are you doing this? And I think it's probably one of my biggest career lessons. And when I'm talking to members of my team, something that I really highlight to them is that the job is one thing, right? But being able to find an organization and a culture that you feel you truly fit in and can excel in is just as important. And I think we become fixated with titles, with money, and all of those elements where actually culture is a massive player, and that allows you to really be who you need to be within the workplace. And for me, the cultural fit at Amazon just wasn't there. I really enjoyed my time there. I learned a lot through my time there, but it wasn't somewhere that I could see myself long term. And I went into a business that at the time was very startup culture, all around kind of being entrepreneurial, within lastminute.com. And I loved that because I really flourished in that environment where I was given the autonomy, even at a very junior level in my career, to kind of make big decisions. Um, it wasn't the right decision because that company then got sold. It changed culture completely through that kind of selling. And yeah, it was probably one of those moments where you go, could I have lasted another 12 months at Amazon? What would that have done? But at the point in time actually made me realize that a culture of an organization is just as important as the role that you're going on to do.
Thank you for sharing. And I just want to touch on, you mentioned culture,
Mm.
which for me, I would agree. Salary, overall compensation package, yes, it is extremely important, but the culture and environment needs to be set up in a way that allows me to thrive. Now, what does culture for you mean? What does that environment, or I guess, what are the parameters of the environment that allows you to thrive?
I think for me, it's an organization that does and says what it's going to do. So,
Okay.
I thrive in an environment that is people first. Now, that does not mean that everyone gets on and everyone is happy, but that means an environment where people can bring their best selves to work. They're
Hmm.
created the space that allows them to work in a way that is valuable for them. They work in an environment where they are able to challenge the status quo and not be judged off the back of challenging the status quo. And where everyone is viewed as an equal level, regardless to their place within the organization. I don't thrive in places where it's very hierarchical, where you're expected to fit a mold, because I think if you want to do that, you may as well employ robots, right? There's no value in that. So for me, that's what I mean by a culture is how you think and how you feel and how you're made to feel by the business that you work for.
Agreed. Thank you. You articulated it beautifully. So, I would like to know, what's the smartest career or salary move you've made and why?
I think the smartest move that I made was actually going into that period of redundancy. So I sat on the sofa for quite a number of weeks wallowing, got over that, and then really had the time to scan the market and understand what it was that I wanted. And at the time when I was interviewing for Sainsbury's, I was also interviewing for companies like Meta, like Uber, etc. And I was able to take that time to really go through and understand what it was that I wanted. When I joined Sainsbury's, and my boss is aware of this, I actually took a salary cut from where I was previously. And that was really smart for me because it meant that I was able to come into an organization in a brand new industry that I hadn't worked in before. I was able to set up the foundations that ultimately meant that I was able to progress quickly through that organization, and able to really come into an industry that has gelled with my being and everything that I stood for. I think if I'd have continued to go to that piece where I just need to earn more, I need to continue to move up the career ladder, I probably would have ended up, in an organization that I would have then hopped around at. So prior to being at Nectar 360, I'd always been in roles kind of 12, 18 months max, and then moved on to the next thing. I've been at Nectar 7 years. I've had 4 different roles within that time. So it was definitely the right time. Now, I'm very lucky, at that time I was living with my partner. He was able to support me through that journey. And I know not everyone is able to make that. But I would say to people that don't always think that you need to move upwards. Moving horizontally is just as powerful and just as important, as kind of continuing to perceptively climb the ladder, because you will find that the ladder goes in different ways, and sometimes taking that moment can really lead you on to bigger and better things.
You would say that your smartest career move was taking a pay cut. That's unique. I
Yes.
haven't, I mean, yeah, and I think that's also powerful because you have to be confident in your abilities. You know your limits, you set your boundaries, and not many people would position a pay cut as such a positive, transformative thing for their career. So I wasn't expecting you to say that.
And it is a strange one, because you kind of do take a step back and go, wait a minute, how is that smart? But if I look at everything that has come off the back of that,
Yeah.
like, it was the most amazing thing for me. It allowed me, as I said, to have that moment where I actually took a little bit of pressure off myself. You will know, as someone that is a high performer and very ambitious, that you have this so much pressure on yourself to continually do better and continually to work and progress. And actually, sometimes living in that moment of pause and just taking a moment to reassess what it is that you want, where do you excel, what are your skills, can actually allow you to kind of go on and achieve greater things that I don't think I would have achieved, if I'm honest with you, if I'd have continued to try and move up. I think there's also this amazing thing in that sometimes living in the moment and not having a plan is also a really powerful thing. So I was promoted kind of around 18 months ago now, and about 6 months into the role, I was talking to my manager, and we were like, okay, what's next? And I was like, I don't know, and I'm just going to live in this, because actually that's really important for me, is that I just see how things go, and what I want to learn and where the areas are. And since then, AI has completely taken off. It's something I'm massively passionate about. But if I'd have already created that plan without allowing myself to just breathe and live in a new role and understand what the requirements of me were, then I probably wouldn't have found this niche that I'm now trying to grow into, kind of from a career perspective.
I love that you can have that transparent conversation with your manager. In some industries, if you spoke up to your manager and just said, yeah, I don't know what's next, or I don't know where I want to be in 2 years, 5 years, that could be seen as complacent, lazy, not driven. And actually, it's the opposite. You're very confident in your ability, so much so you just want to live in the moment and take a minute. And I think that should be more encouraged. We work in a very fast paced industry, and you mentioned it. You're a high performer, you're ambitious. Ambitious women, particularly, are expected to know what happens next, what is next for me, what do I want to be doing in 2 to 5 years. And I think it's okay to not know. And you're right, I agree with you. Being forced into a career development plan when you are just curious and want to learn, sometimes it's not the right format. So I love that you shared that. Thank you.
Think the key thing is that curiosity piece. So, I think the whole moment of taking that pause was not a moment of complacency. It was a moment of curiosity of what's around the corner. And I
Yeah,
think that's the biggest thing for me, is when you're thinking about what you want to do, you need to have that curiosity. And if that curiosity is actually, I just want to see what the world around me is doing, that's fine. That's not being complacent. And for me, that's what changes the dynamic of that conversation with a leader, because you're not saying to them, I'm just sitting here chilling, seeing what's
yeah,
going to land on my lap, right? You're saying, I want to go out and explore and have a look at things, and take the time to look at the tentacles that are going to come off from what I'm doing. And that is a plan in itself, in my opinion. And I've absolutely been in organizations where if I'd have framed it in, I'm just going to take a break and have a think, it would not have been looked upon, favorably at all. But it's that framing, and this is about me being curious as to what my next steps could be,
yeah.
that allowed it to land a lot better.
Thank you. So I would like you to take yourself back, and if you can, take yourself back to a time where you may have felt overlooked or undervalued. How did you overcome that? And what were the steps that you took to pick yourself back up again?
I think this is a really hard one, because I'll be honest and say I am confident on the outside, but I am not confident on the inside at all. So most of my career journey has been me thinking that everyone else is better than me, and constantly having this feeling of being overlooked. And it's definitely been a very difficult piece, and I'm sure you may feel this as well, about trying to balance the home and the work environment in one, and thinking about how they come together, and how you kind of carry through your confidence in a work environment when you're not particularly feeling confident at home and stuff like that. So it's probably quite difficult for me to pinpoint one moment, because that's probably felt like my whole career. And I'll be honest to you, it's probably how I feel a lot of the time now as well. So for anyone that looks at me and thinks, oh my God, she's doing amazing. Yes, but there is a facade, don't worry. So if you're feeling unconfident, don't worry, you can absolutely flag it. I would say, kind of, when I joined Nectar 360, it was an amazing, as I said, journey for me. But I was entering an environment where everyone else had been in the industry for years and years. I was stepping into a room as someone with no media knowledge at all, and expected to build kind of new propositions, etc. And for me, it was about finding that network of people that I could rely on, to be able to pick me up in those moments. And I'm really lucky that there were a lot of amazing people in Nectar 360, and they'll know who they are, that when I was ever having those moments of doubt, would give me that counsel, and give me that shoulder to lean on, to say, no, you're doing an amazing job. Or actually, it's sometimes, yeah, I wouldn't have done it like that. Because we also need those people, right? So I'm not sure there's one moment, because it's probably a bit of a constant battle with me, as a perfectionist, that I will have to deal with. But I think trying to find your clan, your tribe, whatever you want to call it, that can kind of have your back, and support you through those moments, is super important.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's so important to have that trusted circle within your employer, but also externally, to just someone that's just far removed from the industry, that can give you that fresh perspective, that can basically tell you how it is. Let's move on. So, research shows that many women don't negotiate their salary when they join a new business. Have you always negotiated your salary when starting a new role?
I have always tried,
Okay.
shall I say. I have had varying levels of success
Okay.
with that. Um, I guess it comes back to the fact, I started out of law school, I went into buying. Negotiation is at the heart of everything that I've ever done from a job. So why would you not do that for yourself as well? I think where it has gone well, is where I have come in really knowing the value of the worth that I can provide to the business, really understanding the market that I operate in, and what are the skills that are unique that I can bring to the table, that someone else couldn't bring to the table. Where it's gone badly is where I've literally kind of slapped a figure on a table and said, "Can I take it or leave it?" Type thing, because that
Yeah.
doesn't work at the end of the day. You need to understand and really articulate well, the difference and the business value that you're going to bring in. And I kind of think of it a bit like a business case that you would do for any new initiative that you want to do. What is the cost, and therefore what are the returns that I'm going to be able to bring to you to offset that? Um, the one thing I would say is, you sometimes need to hold firm. So there will be times, when people will say to you, "We absolutely can't go to that level," or whatever it is. And if you truly believe that that is your worth, or that is what you need for your circumstances in your life, then you do need to hold firm, because otherwise people will push you over and will continue to. But you also, as in any negotiation, need to kind of have your backstop, right, as to what is it that you would be happy to accept. And exactly to that point, once you've got that, move on, go on to the next thing, don't hold a grudge, etc. And that's why you need to be clear in those kind of levels. So yeah, it's about articulating as part of that why you believe that you deserve that, what you're going to bring to the business, alongside it, and also what your future potential is as well, right? Because particularly as you move up the ladder, people won't be employing you for that job that you're doing now. They'll be employing you for the jobs of the future.
Thank you for sharing, Alice. Before we close out, I would like to do a random round with you. So, very quick fire questions. First, first answer that pops into your mind is the first answer that we'd like.
Yep.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay. So, favorite word or phrase to use in an email?
Oh, oh my gosh, this is a really hard one. So I probably don't have one. I have to make them up. So I'm a very red character. So get in, get out, very straight to the point. So for me, it's always remembering those little things like what did they do at the weekend? Where have they been on holiday? And including that. So not a phrase, but making sure that you've got that personal connection to someone in an email so that they feel valued by the comms that you're sending.
Love that. Thank you. What's your go-to hot drink order?
Cup of Yorkshire tea with 2 sweeteners and soya milk. That one's easy.
Yorkshire Gold or just Yorkshire?
Plain old Yorkshire, but I like the hard
Yorkshire.
water one because it's slightly stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've recently moved on to hard water. It's the green label, right? Yeah, same. We get on really well, great. Um, First thing you do to switch off after work?
First thing I do is go and see my dogs, Gordon and Brenda, and be really strict with myself on emails. So the phone stays somewhere else, and yeah, go and spend some time with the dogs.
Early bird or night owl?
I'm an early bird. I need to be in bed by
Really?
10 o'clock latest. Yes.
What time do you wake up?
Around 5, half 5.
Okay. Is that, does your body just naturally wake up at 5? Is that just habitual now?
I won't lie. I usually need a wee. That's usually why I wake up. Yeah.
Okay. Which emoji do you overuse?
I definitely overuse, the 2 eyes. They're
Yeah.
next to one another. I don't know if it has a name, but that kind of like, ooh, kind of,
Yeah.
yeah, that one.
Okay. And a final question. What's one app that you couldn't live without?
I think I couldn't live without Instagram. I love a good doom scroll. I'm not going to lie to you.
Really?
Yes, yeah, I just love it. I love keeping in touch with my friends, my families. I love watching useless videos of dogs and people falling over and stuff like that. And it's just that little bit of light relief that I need sometimes.
How long would you say you spend on there a day? I'm not trying to call you out, no judgment. Just how long would you spend on there a day?
Max an hour because I'm very disciplined with it. But yeah, this is why I don't have TikTok because I'm like I could fall down that rabbit hole so quick.
Yeah.
So yeah, I am disciplined with it because I won't lie, there have been weekends where you go, where did that weekend go?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Alice, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us. Thank you for being honest, transparent. I have thoroughly loved this chat. I hope our listeners will find this as insightful as I did, and I can't wait to share this with everyone.
Thank you so much, Lucy. It's been a pleasure too.
If this episode made you think differently or questioned the way you approach a conversation or the way you navigate your strategy moving forward, please do me a favour. Hit subscribe, like, and share. Your support will help other people discover this podcast and keep the conversation going.